everything you read or watch on cable news says that we're in the hottest job market ever, record high employment, record low unemployment, war for talent. Well, I gotta say, yes, it's a hot job market, but not everybody's participating, not everyone is benefiting. And this might not come across politically correct, I don't know. So, if you want to turn off this now because you're uncomfortable, maybe you should, but if you want to hear it, stick with me. So I think what happens is this. There's certain segments that are doing really well in the market and others not. One of the areas I see firsthand, both professionally and personally, is a lot of age discrimination that's out there. So if you're 40 and above, and either you're worried about losing your job or you lost your job, that's really difficult. You're in a really bad spot. So what I want to talk about, and by the way, I should introduce myself. This is Jack Kelly, CEO, founder of WeCruitr. This is the WeCruitr Podcast, where we talk about all sorts of career and interview-related matters. And for this podcast, I really want to talk about if you have to look for a job. Either you lost your job, you're worried about losing your job, you feel you're going to be kicked out. And what we're doing with this podcast series is we're kind of going through the book, You Will Get That Great New Job, that we just published, and it's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, where else, Nicole? Wherever books are sold. Now, of course, Apple, right? And also, speaking of Apple, we should be on iTunes pretty soon. We're on Spotify, we're on SoundCloud, we're on YouTube, and should be on iTunes, which is pretty awesome. So keep an eye out for it. All right, but I digress. So back to now I feel really weird. I'm talking about the book and all that kind of stuff, and I would say, hey, you lost your job. What a really horrible segue. But so in the midst of a hot job market, yeah, there are people who are in between jobs or feel that they have to find a new job or lost their job. And what happens in those instances, it makes things even worse because, you look around and your family and friends are looking at you strangely, like, how did you lose your job? Or why are you going to lose your job? It's such a hot job market. What's up? What's wrong with you? They may not say it, but you feel it. You feel it. So whether maybe you lost the job, maybe you see that your firm is relocating people, which that is another big thing that's happening. Particularly in the banking industry, which I focused on for 20 plus years as a recruiter, is that they're moving a lot of jobs to lower cost cities, lower cost states. They're moving to other countries in an effort to save money. So then what happens if you're earning a certain amount of money? Well, guess what? You're a target. And usually, not always, but usually, if you're a mid to high earner, you're probably a little older. You're probably hitting your mid-30s, late 30s, 40 up. Then you're making 100, 150, 200, 250, 300,000, what have you. Whereas if they have somebody they could put in Florida, in Texas, in Utah, in India, in Poland, and they could do someone who's like 27 for literally a quarter of the price, what do you think is going to happen? So there's this kind of arbitrage that goes on where companies feel, hey, we could put people in cheaper locations, save money, so that if you're at that age of 40 and up, and I got to tell you, not to freak you guys out, but it's really starting in the 30s too. So if you're 30-something and you're making a decent living and they're junior level people who are earning less, you got a target on you. So what happens? So either A, you're given a package, B, you kind of know it's going to be, you're going to be shown the door because you see what's going on around you. Your job may be relocated or just removed. So you're looking. Either you're out of the market, you're looking, you're worried about it. And so the key is, what do you do? How do you deal with it? Now, the very first thing before anything else really, is you just got to get your head together. Under the best circumstances, if you lose your job, it's a really crushing experience. No matter what, I don't care how strong you are, how mentally strong you are, how successful you are, when you get that note, when you get that knock on your door, or you get that call to go into the HR office and say, hey, we need to talk, your heart is starting to beat, you're sweating, you know what's happening, especially if you're in an environment that's going on. And when you get that, hey, I'm sorry, it's not, we have no choice, but thank you. We really appreciate everything you've done for us. Now, we're going to have Rocco, the security guard, escort you out, and they're going to check everything in your office, and you're going to be treated like a criminal, and you're going to be embarrassed and have the walk of shame out the door. Well, it's brutal. It's brutal. You go home and your head is spinning and you're like, what happened? How did this happen? You're there 5, 10 years, you got raises, promotions, you're an all-star, rock star, and now goodbye. Thanks. See you later. Now, here's what happens to a lot of people. They pull back because they feel very uncomfortable. Think about it. It really makes a lot of sense, especially in the context that we're in this so-called blazing hot job market. So that if you go out with family, friends, various social engagements, and you know what happens when you go, to these things. Hey, Nicole, how are you? How's things going? How's the job? It's so awkward. You don't want to have to say, I lost my job. Really? You lost your job? How? It's such a hot job market. So what do most people do? They pull back. They hide. They stay at home. They just don't want to deal with it. They don't want to have to deal with their nosy neighbors. Oh, hey, Jack, I noticed you're not, your car's in the driveway. What's up? You're not going to work? Ugh. And you have to kind of now explain to your next door neighbor what's going on. So what do? You just stay in the house. You move your car somewhere so they think you went to work. You have to work on yourself. That's the first thing. Even before you get your resume updated, before you do, update your LinkedIn profile, before you join WeCruitr, like I put in that shameless plug. And then also, of course, you got to buy my book. You'll get that great new job. But the first thing you really have to do is just kind of deal with it. It's almost like, when you lose somebody you love, you go through all those stages, from anger, grief, denial, same thing. And it's okay to do that. It's okay to feel bad. It's okay to feel angry. It's okay to feel pissed off. But you have to start dealing with it. Now, some people could deal with it on their own. Some, you may have to, seek out help. Tough part is most people still feel like mental health. They don't want to deal with it. They feel like, oh my God, speak to a counselor. Oh, everyone's going to think I'm crazy. Screw them. You got to do what's right for yourself. If you feel that you're not able to get up out of bed, get out of the house, interact with people, you feel angry and bitter, and you just can't shake it. Yeah, you got to speak to someone, whoever it is, who could start helping you get out of it. And I know I'm dwelling on this a bit, but trust me, after years and years of dealing with people, this is a thing. And, in our society is so driven by you have to be successful. You have to make this kind of money and have this kind of car and go on these vacations and have a McMansion. So if you're not hitting those, well, you're a loser. What's wrong with you? So when you go in social circumstances or you're on Facebook, Instagram, everybody's bragging how well, they're succeeding. So if you're not, you just start feeling weird, inadequate, and you don't want to talk about it. Everyone likes bragging. Oh, I'm doing great. I'm doing fantastic. So it makes it even worse that you feel like, oh, wait, I'm not participating in this. What's wrong with me? It must be me. No, it's not you. It's just that the people who go through challenging times don't talk about it. But the people who brag about it when they're doing well. So all you hear is the bragging stories. All you see is the cool lifestyle on Instagram. The influencers. You see, on Facebook, everyone's life is super awesome. But you don't see the real deal. They don't see like, oh, I'm home with the covers over my head and I'm freaking miserable. But trust me, I'm telling you, there are more people than you would believe who are like that. Because I've spoken to for the last 25 years, and they just don't talk to others about it. So take care of yourself. Then the next thing, what you have to do is, once you really just try to kind of get your thing together. And part of the getting thing together too, by the way, is you can't start drinking. You can't take illegal drugs. You can't take prescription drugs. You gotta, or maybe you do need some of it, but you can't start relying on that because that further digs you down the hole. So you want to make sure you have a routine. You wake up early. Maybe you go to the gym. You just have to have something set up so it can keep your mind focused, and you have a strategy, a plan to move forward. As you get used to your new reality, then you start with a game plan. Hey, every morning I'm going to wake up. Maybe I'll drive the kids to school, which is great, and they're going to love it that your mom or dad is driving you to school. Fantastic. You get home, you work on your resume, you send out resumes, you contact former coworkers, you network. And this is a key with the coworkers and network. That's part of the pulling back. A lot of people are embarrassed to do it. Don't. Reach out, talk to them, make sure they know that you're looking, ask them for leads, ask them to help any way you can. I know it's humbling. I know it's awkward. I know you can feel weird about it, but you got to do it anyway. You just go there, ask for it, and it's a numbers game. The more people you ask, the odds are somebody's going to help. So you have to have. So let's just regroup a little bit. You just got to get your head together. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to feel pissed off. It's okay to be angry. Then you have to start getting a daily routine so you can stick with it and you can stay focused. And then start getting a game plan of getting out there, submitting resumes, going to all the different job sites, wherever they are, meeting people, going to conferences, meetups, events, anything you could think of so that you could find a way to get that job. Another thing what you want to do is this. You want to just create a pitch, because the first few times people ask you what's going on, you're going to feel a little awkward. You're going to stumble, and you're going to be angry, and you want to get that done, because once you go for the interview, they're going to ask you, hey Jack, what happened? And here's something that's really interesting that goes on. And I'm not saying hiring managers or HR people do this on purpose. They'll say, hey Jack, why, what happened? And they'll say it in a caring way. They're not trying to trip you up or do anything. And then I'll say, well, there was a relocation, there's a bit of a merger, they're moving jobs, to other countries. Oh, I'm really sorry to hear that, Jack. So what about you? Well, I was a vice president, and, then they let me go, and they gave it to a more junior person who's now in Florida. And you can see, just in my voice, how all of a sudden you start getting a little angry, whatever. And then oftentimes what happens, the interviewer is really trying to be empathetic. Oh, I'm really sorry to hear it. So what? So they gave the job to someone much junior to yourself. Yeah, isn't that crazy? What's wrong with them? And all of a sudden, you start kind of venting all this anger and rage. And what ends up happening after that interview is done, I'll get a call from the recruiter, the internal recruiter, and say, Jack, we really like that candidate, but I don't know. I'm not really sure why this person would let go. They seem to have a lot of lingering issues. I don't feel comfortable. They seem a little angry. And what's happening is they're going to kind of presume it's the candidate's fault. Now, it's not right, but they'll feel that because the person gives off that aura, that aura of just being ticked off. Now, let's be honest, who wants to hire someone who's ticked off and annoyed and angry and irritated? So you want to practice that pitch every time you can, and you want to do it in a way that sounds normal and nice and okay. So here's for instance, this is what I would say. Let's say I was downsized, what have you. Hey, interview person, thank you for having me in. Thank you for asking about what happened. Well, there was a downsizing, and unfortunately I was part of it. However, I really enjoyed my time working at ABC Widget Company. It was fantastic. My coworkers were great. The work was interesting and challenging. My boss was fantastic. I did some amazing things. That last 10 years, amazing. And we all understand in business nowadays, these things happen. So I'm looking at it, Mr. and Mrs. Interviewer, that this is a chance for me to try something new. Because if I wasn't downsized, I probably would stay there another 10 years. And I probably would stay there because I was comfortable and liked it. But this forces me out of my comfort zone. This is forcing me to take a chance, to do something new, to reinvent myself. And this job that I'm interviewing for is great because I do, and then you list all the things you do. I do X, Y, Z that you're looking for. Plus, it seems that you want me to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, which to be fair, I haven't done it, but that's what makes this job so exciting. So I get to learn something new. So I could contribute what I know, but then I can learn these new things. And I'm really excited about it. Now, you see the difference between that answer and before when that person was all angry? It's a world of a difference. Think about it. If you're the interviewer, you're going to be like, wow, this guy is great. I'm saying guy not to be sexist, guy because I'm a guy, so whatever, So that guy is wow, he has his stuff together. He was downsized, and they're going to think of themselves, how would I feel if I lost my job? I'd be upset, and he seems really together, calm, and not excited, actually, that he wants to do something new. I'm gonna suggest he keeps going on with the interview and meet more people. And trust me, I get it. You're probably rolling your eyes if you're in this situation now and think, oh, easier said than done. And you're right. It is easier said than done. But this is life, and this is what you have to do. But if you practice it enough, then when you go to the interview, it's going to come across real. So I'll give you a last piece. Don't give up. the job search, even for a very successful person who's doing well, who's doing employed, who's kind of a mid-level or senior person, it takes a long time. It takes a long time. There are a lot of interviews. There's a lot of rejection, ghosting, lack of feedback. You don't know what's happening. So if you're in between jobs, it's understandable that you're going to think, oh, it's me. Something's wrong with me. I'm being blackballed from the industry. There's a black cloud on my head. No, don't give in to that. Just as I said at the beginning of the podcast, you got to work on your mindset and be strong. Same thing as you're going through interviews. Don't take it personally. It's hard to interview. It's difficult. It's challenging. A lot of times it's rude. People are inconsiderate. It goes to everybody. So don't let it get you depressed. Don't let it get you down. And if it does, fight back against it. So here's what we need to do. Just to recap. If you're in that position where you're in between roles, it happens more than you think. You're not alone. It happens a lot. People just don't like talking about it. It's okay to process it. It's okay to feel bad for a while. But then you have to work to get past it. Then once you get past it, get a set routine so that you know what to do every day. And then also add, I didn't mention, but add things that you've always wanted to do, but you couldn't. Maybe you couldn't take your daughter to her ballet class. Maybe you couldn't take your son to, t-ball games, whatever. So this is time. Maybe you do some odds and ends around the house you couldn't do. So have a routine that you do. Now with that routine, have a plan every day to move the ball forward with your career. It could be fixing up the resume, fixing up LinkedIn, sending out resumes, meeting people, going out for a cup of coffee with former colleagues. And that goes into making very sure that you're getting out there and you're not withdrawing. Then practice your pitch so when you go there, you sound upbeat, positive, enthusiastic, motivated, the type of candidate you like to hire. When you go through the interview process, be prepared. It's going to be tough. And not just because you're in between jobs, but because that's how it is. So don't take it personally and don't let it kind of really get to you. As you go through, be strong, be bold, be brave, and just keep moving forward. So if you're in between jobs, hopefully this helps and give you some color of what's happening. And as always, feel free. I put on my contact information here, my email, my phone number. You'll see me on LinkedIn, on Twitter, Facebook. So I'll be glad to help too. So if you're going through this tough time, feel free. Now, I'm not going to pretend I have all the answers or I have access to all the jobs, but at least if you have questions, maybe I could help you out. So feel free. Nicole's going to put the contact information there, and if I could help in any way, I'll be glad to. So this is Jack Kelly from WeCruitr. Thank you for listening, and I hope helps out people who are in this unfortunate situation right now. Thank you so much.